Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Confidence Culture Conversations. And I'm your host, Elizabeth Olujimi, alongside Kirubai Kohout. So, welcome, Kirubai. How are you doing?
Doing very well, Elizabeth, despite the fact that I can't hear you very clearly. So, it's
Can you
such
hear me
a
now?
you're you're going in and out. There's no clarity in that sentence.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll work with that. So, how are you doing today? How has your day been?
My day has been good. It was a beautiful afternoon, I must say. I went out for a bit to enjoy the weather, and surprisingly, it was 16 today.
Okay, that sounds like it was quite warm on your end.
Yeah. Was it very cold at your end?
It was a little bit cold. It wasn't that
Okay.
warm, but hey, we thank God that at least we are not having extreme weather. So we thank God for what we have.
Yeah, while Robert was driving me to the mall, we were just saying that, it doesn't seem like winter, even though we are in November.
That's interesting because on my end it feels like winter. It feels like winter has come.
Probably we've got a different weather here on the northwest of London.
Maybe. So how was your weekend?
An eventful weekend, Elizabeth. Eventful. Of course, we met and then I had to dash off at Peterborough, had a little workshop there, and the Nick, what will people say, in the sense that I took the trains at 5:30 to come back to London, and 6:30, that was massive incident that happened. And, it was nine people got injured in the, what's that, train. Elizabeth, it's not working. It's not working.
It's okay, Kirubai. I can hear you. It's
You are
working.
not at all clear at all. Sorry.
Just keep going, Kirubai. It's working. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. So yes, I thank God that I was safe. I could have been in this. I was in the same platform, the same train, and after 1 hour later, the incident happened. What a tragic incident! Thank God they caught the guy.
Yeah, no, it was very tragic. I think when I saw it, I messaged you because I was wondering, have you
Yeah,
gotten home? Because I knew that was on your path. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's really sad because we travel on trains every time, and you never think that when you're traveling on a train, something like this is going to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
it's left a lot of people scared and traumatized, so, which is really sad. And we pray for all those who've been affected.
Yeah, and it is tragic. You cannot travel on the trains. Fear cannot be part of it because you just want to sit back and enjoy that movement, while traveling. But you know what? We thank God. We just thank God there was not a bigger massacre. That guy ran an amok, I think.
It's just crazy to even think about it or to just think what happened because I remember reading that some people were running, but you're in a train, so there's only so far that you can run. So that was really crazy. But like you say, we thank God that there were no fatalities.
Yeah, we do not know what triggered him off, you know, really. People just want to, those who were affected. I mean, my heart goes out to them. They were quietly sitting down, enjoying their ride back to London, and then this happens. So one of the things that I was thinking is, why of recent years there's so many knife related crimes in London.
I think it's not necessarily just that it's knife related. I think this speaks about the moral degradation of society, and it
Hmm.
speaks about all the issues that we are facing in society today. People do these things for various different reasons, and some reasons we will never understand. You know, but it's one of those things that we have to be the change that we want to see, and as much as we can in our communities, is really do what we can to speak against these things, but also to look out for people, because sometimes it could even be a mental health issue.
Mm.
And we've talked on here a lot about mental health in the past, and so that's one of the things that we can do. Just watch out for each other, be your brother's keeper, so to speak, and stand up for the things that are right, the things that are wrong, point them out. Let's not be ignorant. The Bible, so we are people of faith, right? And the Bible talks about how we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. And so
Powers and
this
dominion.
is not just about the people and the issues. There's spiritual forces at work, and we cannot be ignorant of that. Hi, Margaret. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Elizabeth, I think one of the things is, I think we can shelve our topic for next week. But talking about this important topic, because I think as people in the community, we are afraid to stand up and also um, stand up for the right things, and to be supportive, because we are all minding our own business, to be to help us to diffuse a situation like this. It is scary, yes, it is scary, but I like what you said. We have to be the change. And how are we going to be the change? We have to be somewhat our brother's keeper. What would
Yes,
you say for that?
definitely. No, no, no. That's so important, because we are so bothered about our own issues. We are in our own silos, in our own little
Mhm.
issues, in our own little
Mm.
sort of boxes, and that's what we tend to focus on. But forgetting that actually we have neighbors, and yesterday I was listening to something around like being part of the right community and how it makes such a difference when you are in community. And I think that's what we need to remember, is that we can't do life in isolation. We have to be part of communities, and we have to look out for people in our communities. And even just linking it to the topic of success, which is what we were going to talk about, you cannot achieve success in isolation. You need community. You need to be part of the right community. So likewise, I think with the issues that we are facing in society today, community has a big part to play. The political systems have a big part to play. Like society in general has a big part to play.
A lot of us don't even know our neighbors.
And and, and
And
that's one place it starts. It starts with knowing your neighbors. It starts with
yeah.
being involved in the community, because sometimes we just we sleep in our homes, right? We wake up, we have breakfast, we go to work. We are not part of the community. We don't know what's happening in our community. And actually, so a few weeks ago I went for an event where they were talking about how the church can partner with organizations, whether it's the council, whether it's the police, whether it's the NHS, to bring change into the community. And one of the things that happened that day, there was a policewoman who was there, and she's a police superintendent. She's she's risen up in the ranks. She's a Christian as well. She's a woman of faith. And one of the things she said is like, as Christians, the police could really do with your prayer. Like, pray for us. That can really help. Like, that's a starting point. But also, there's an app. It's an app. It's a website that the police have come up with, which is called I think it's called Met Engage, and I don't know if this is around in other cities, but I know it's in London. And you can sign up on there, and you get to find out about things going on in your community from a police perspective. And when there's events happening around your community that are sort of neighborhood related, you get to hear about them, you get notifications about them. And that's one way. It's just getting involved in the community. So I signed up for an event happening in Lambeth on Monday, where the council is organizing. It's a sort of cohesion. It's an intervention because of the crime, like hate crime, I think in particular, that has been happening in the area. And so the council is bringing together people of faith and different organizations to discuss it and see what we can do. How can we partner together to bring change into our communities? And so that's really what it's about. It's about partnership. It's about working together. We cannot bring change on our own. We can be the change by partnering with other people and doing collaborations, and that makes a difference.
Mm.
What do
That's
you
a good
think,
one. I
Kirubai?
mean, sorry, I just Googled, and yes, there is an app called Met Engage. Um, the place that I come from, we call ourselves a Dollars Hill Village, and we have a WhatsApp group that all the alerts and what's happening, and they do a lot of free promotions for barter trade there, and things that are relevant, and that is very current, and anything that's happening in the tube station, or somebody's getting robbed at the park or something like that, everything is reported there, and it's a way to keep in touch with the community. So um they have got very strict rules about what to post and what not to post, and we get all the current news, which is great. So as Elizabeth talked about this Met Engage, and it's an app. It's an app you can sign on. I think it's great. I'm going to sign on. So at least for prayer points, what's happening around your vicinity, to pray, and also whether they need a helping hand. So thank you for that, Met Engage, Elizabeth, because we are so isolated. Sometimes we are in our home, like, and go to work, and just maybe go to church, socialize a bit here and there, and forget about our neighbors and community. And we can't do
It's
that.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know what? One of the things that this superintendent said when she was giving her talk, she said, "Don't be afraid to get to know the police in your area. Like, get
Mm,
to know them. Invite them to your church meetings. Like, let them be, like, engage with them." And actually, today I saw a picture posted by Pastor Nick Chanda. So he is part of a group of pastors in Enfield, and they meet regularly to pray together. And I think every so often they invite the policemen to come. They invite a police representative to come to their meetings.
mhm.
So this is definitely like an opportunity for community, so like churches, to get involved. And like, I know sometimes we see the police as the enemy, but
No,
actually
they're not.
they're
Mm,
here to look after us, right? To protect us. That's what the job is about. It's about protecting us. So we
mhm,
need to engage with them, to ensure better policing.
mhm,
And also, I think, so aside from that, also like community interest companies, right? So organizations that are working with communities and providing, whether it's um, activities that help people to deal with mental well-being, or whether it's activities that engage young people, or just activities that empower people. I think that's also something else that can grow our communities, because it's about community, it's about collaboration. So when you have organizations that are doing things that empower the community, it makes a difference.
So true. Collaboration. It's like us, two of us. We have our own things, but we are collaborating to do uh, confidence culture conversation. And there is power in collaboration because we learn from someone else and they learn from us, and then we build together. And I think um, the church has to be outside the community. The church has to be in the community, and that's not in the four walls of the church. How else will they know the love of Jesus? You're very good at that, Elizabeth. I still struggle with doing things in the community. You're very good. You and Tunji are very hands-on in the community, which is great.
It's literally what you just said. The church has to come outside of the church building.
Mhm.
I am very big on the church being relevant in the community where it is. Otherwise, what's the point? And when I talk about being relevant, I'm talking beyond prayer. Let's be practical. How
Mhm.
can we practically serve our community? Yes, we can pray for our community, but are there things that we can do in our community? So, going back to this event I attended, right? There's a church in Croydon that runs a language school for people who don't speak English as a first language.
Where
So
is
they
this?
in
Crawley?
Croydon.
Croydon. Okay.
So there's a church in Croydon. I think it's Croydon, and they offer lessons to people for people who don't speak English as a first language, and the people who are doing the teaching are retired members of churches.
Very good.
So it's one church that's running it, but they have, because they don't have enough manpower, so they have partnered with other churches to say, like, the retired people who might be at home just doing a crossword are now using their skills to teach people English.
Mm,
So
such a wonderful idea.
something like that can make a difference.
Of course. Of course. Of course. You know what? We add value to the senior citizens, and they add we add value to collaborate with them, and they add value to the students, and it's a nice mix, young and the old, and they carry a lot of experience and wisdom. So overall it's a win-win situation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so in sorry, I'm now referring to this event a lot because we've decided to run with this topic. So if you're joining us
Yeah.
today and you're thinking you're supposed to be talking about success and how successful people think, bear with us. We've shifted topics, and I think I'll change the narrative that's in the video. I will change that later on once we've finished the live. Um, but one of the other things that was mentioned is how churches can run activities for kids. So whether it's like toddler groups, like a creche facility, because one of the things that schools are finding is that kids are coming to school and they haven't been potty trained. Kids are coming to school, they don't know how to read, they don't know how to do some basic things. Why? Because I think whether it's people are not, parents are not sitting down and being present enough with their kids. So if churches can step in and provide like a creche facility to support parents with young kids, a facility that is free as well, because childcare is expensive. It's skyrocketing. So if churches can meet this need, that also makes a huge difference.
Mm. I mean, a couple of months ago, I went to a church in Grove Park, and it's not a very big church, but a church that was, I had to take a bus to go into a community where generally there were a lot of elderly people, and this church was hosting, like, every day there were programs to help the community manage time, exercise. They had on a Wednesday they had hot meals served, like you pay £5. But all this was run by a church that there were lots of elderly people keeping busy, cooking in the kitchen, and then just bringing in the community into, and lots of people. I was amazed, the hive of activity in that place, and it was wonderful to see. So it was wonderful to see. So in their own way, a lot of churches are doing something, and even the other faiths. I mean, right down the road, there is a mosque where they have a food bank every day, mind you, and that's a big responsibility. So people want to be engaging in the community. I mean, who spoke about the community? It was Jesus who always spoke about the community. He said, go out and serve and meet the people. And he was a person who was so hands on with people. And, the others are following suit. But yet, we must have more churches going into the community. That's my desire.
I think that would be Christ's desire as well. That would be God's desire as well, because we are supposed to be His arms and His feet, right? And I think more
That's right.
importantly, God has called us to show love. What does love look like in the times that we are living in? What does
Mhm,
walking in love look like? Because, you know, um, one of the things that happens a lot nowadays is people will see something happening. So let's say it's a criminal activity, and they will automatically get their phones out to record as opposed to
mm,
going to help, right?
mm,
And it
mm,
makes you wonder, what sort of society have we become
mm,
where instead of somebody helping, they
mm,
would rather record the suffering, record the incident. And
mhm.
that happens a lot, sadly, and you have to ask yourself, what does love look like in this situation? Or if you were the person in that situation, what would you like people to do? Do you want people to stand and record what's happening, or actually
Mm.
do you want people to come and help you?
So, why do they record it? What, to just keep it as evidence? I never do that. I'm sorry.
Some people record it so they can post it, so they go viral. This is the
Mhm,
sad reality of the world we live in. It's for content. So some
mhm.
people would record it for the sake. I mean, today I saw a video someone posted where somebody got hit by a car.
Okay.
Now, I think the video wasn't necessarily someone standing recording it, but it was, I think it was CCTV that they used to put on there.
Mhm.
But is it necessary to post that? Probably not. It probably isn't, but it gets attention to their page. So this is where, as society, what are the values that we stand on? And this is part of what community will help us to do, will help us to reinstate what are our values. When you're growing up at home, in your home, you're taught the values of your family, right? The values of your house. So when you go out there, you carry out those values. So as a society, what are our values? What values do we stand on? When our kids are in school, what are the values that are instilled in them? What are the values that they're standing on? And so it's important for us to talk about those values. We do it in corporate settings, it's important for us to do that as society, as communities, because that then helps us to understand, okay, when this is happening, this is not how we behave, because that's not what our values say.
Elizabeth, going back to the train incident, bringing the train scenario, the values people carry, but also it hampers them from the fear they carry too, because of the fact that it was a knife crime, for fear that they might be stabbed. So, how would that help diffuse the whole situation?
So it's it's people coming together. And I think what values teach us to value each other, values teach us to be kind, and yes, in the midst of like a dangerous situation, I think what can happen where community helps is that we can then stand together to defeat the bad guys. So if I'm trying to fight by myself, it
It's
encourages me when I
impossible.
see the person next to me fighting with me. The Bible says two one can chase 1,000, two can chase ten
1,000,
thousand, right? So
10,000. Yes, that's right.
So when we partner together, we can achieve more. So even when it comes to, yes, the fear being there, I think we can encourage each other to be courageous, to stand up against the bullies, to stand up against the wrongdoing that's going on in society when we stand together. That's what people do when they're protesting, right? They're
That's
standing
right.
together to protest. It's a community of people coming together and they're protesting.
Yeah, that's a good way of explaining the fact that standing together, and I mean, we were not there to witness that, but we do not know what happened in that carriage, whether people were all hiding or they stood up and caught the guy. I wouldn't know. But you know what? We all have to be aware how to respond. And one of the ways to respond is to pull up our strength and arrest the assailant.
I mean, it's easy to talk about it.
Mm-mm.
I think when you're in the actual situation,
Not
it's
easy.
that's the test, isn't it? But if I remember correctly, I think a couple of years ago, there was a guy who there was an incident on London Bridge, and if
Not.
I'm not mistaken, the guy was apprehended by, like, the people came and, like, literally came and stopped him from doing what he was trying to do. And so the idea of us working together, standing together, partnering together, can make a huge difference. So I was listening to something today, and again, this is probably going back to faith related and how the church can help. But they were talking about how a someone gave I want to say a testimony, but it's something that happened a few years ago where there was a mayor in a city and he wanted to bring change to the city, and he was really concerned that the spiritual climate in the city um, had gone down. And so his way of trying to bring change was he was bringing pastors together. But actually, through the word of a prophet, God spoke to him and said, "Let me show you how to do it." And
Mm-mm.
God said, "It's not about the spiritual climate, it's actually about the soul of the city. The soul of the
Mm-mm.
city is where the issue is." And so God said, "Don't bring together pastors of churches, bring together psychologists, people who can deal with pain, who can deal with trauma. Bring those people together." And one of the instructions God gave this mayor is, you get the police chief and you go into these areas where there is a lot of moral degradation, and go and knock on the doors and talk to the people, speak to the people, find out what's going on. And the prophetic word also included the fact that don't go in your uniform. So the police chief shouldn't go in his uniform. Just wear like a polo shirt and denim jeans and go. And the first door that they knocked on, they met this old lady, and this old lady said, "Wait, I know the two of you. You're the mayor, you're the police chief." And she's like, "I have literally just been praying." So I have literally just been praying for God to send help for my community. And then you two show up at my doorstep. So she was like, "This is an answer to my prayer." So again, I think this is a call to people within the church who occupy like a fivefold office. Like, let's not be afraid to go into the community and exercise the gifts that God has given us. The prophetic gifts, the words of wisdom, the spirits of discernment. Like, we don't have to be overly spiritual about it, but those gifts can also be applied in the community. So, in this instance, that prophetic gift helped for the mayor to say, "Okay, this is how we are going to do it." And actually, they within a few weeks, they brought down a drug house
Wow.
because of that, because
Mm,
of the way they had gone about it. So it's finding ways to collaborate, but also harnessing on knowing that this is not just a physical issue, but also there is a spiritual issue behind it. And so understanding that and partnering together to bring change for the greater good of the community, not the greater good of somebody's name, but the greater good of the community. Because sometimes people want a stamp of their name on it. They want to show that we are the ones who did it, but no, it's for the greater good of the community.
mm.
It's not about one man getting praise or one church or one organization getting praise. It's all of us coming together and
Together,
bringing
yeah,
change.
as one. Yeah, when you are sharing that incident, I was reminded of someone who shared this testimony about them caught in a situation like this on a train, and something happened. And of course, you were just talking about the fivefold and how you can operate in your gifts. And that lady, she started binding and losing and taking authority of the situation. You won't believe it. She said he was actually manifesting right two um, spaces away, and he just calmed down because she exercised her gifts. She exercised, and that's the power of God that is imparted to us as as His children, that we can exercise our authority and the anointing in the marketplace. We are not alone because the Holy Spirit is with us. The Comforter is with us. So she was actually an elderly lady, who shared this testimony. And of course, I mean, I also attended I think it was maybe a couple of months ago. I attended an open day for a refuge home where they bring in women who from the streets and house them and bring reformation and change. And they invited all the local police to come. And there was a big presence of policemen and who were there, and they honored them because without the police help, they can't do this NGO. We were not able to what's that do this what they are doing, taking the women off the streets, because there would be expected fights with the pimps, and some of these women, they really want to get out of this trap. So they always engage the police, and the police are working hand in hand. Yes, like I like what you said, Elizabeth. Do not be afraid of the police.
Honestly, I think that's one thing we're taking away from this conversation. I think is about the collaborations, about partnerships. It's also about like having those conversations, right? Not being afraid to have the conversations. So yes, don't
Mhm.
be afraid to approach, but also don't be afraid to have the conversations. And it might even be a case of like, going to the local council and saying, how can we, I run this organization or I'm part of this church. How can we help? Is there a need in the community that maybe we can meet? It's coming together on the table and having the conversations. We can't ignore the fact that these things are happening, right? We can't ignore the fact that you know um, society is the way it is today. But we have to find ways together. We have to find ways.
And what more so this season of, we are just around the corner for Christmas. And and also appreciating people, appreciating the police, the ambulance drivers. I was just talking to my husband this afternoon about the efficiency of our ambulance drivers and the ambulance attendants who work together with the who are in the ambulance, how efficient they are. That's amazing. Amazing. So you've given me some ideas for Christmas now. I need to go and
Yay!
appreciate them.
I love that, and I hope other people are also getting ideas. Earlier on you mentioned something about food banks, and that's
Hmm.
another that's another thing. And I was just trying to check my phone to see what the statistics are when it comes to food banks.
Hmm.
And there are a huge percentage of people using food banks nowadays. Like you would be you it's in the year to March 2024, approximately 2.8 million people in the UK lived in households that used a food bank.
Wow.
That's a huge number. So it just
Hmm.
goes to show, like, it might not be a need for you, but it's a need for someone else. And some people are resorting to crime because they don't have food on their table. Yes, there are people who just do it for the sake of doing it, but there are also people who do it because they have an actual need. And so, like, there's lessons that we need to teach in our communities. We need to teach our young people lessons. And some of those lessons might include like how to spend money, how to make money. Like, let's not be afraid to start teaching our young people how to make money, the good ways to make money, because there are good ways to make money. Our people who are just sort of maybe lacking what to do. Is there a place for them in society? Can we find spaces for them? And yes, there are people who might not be interested in the help, but there might be people who will appreciate the help. So it's really finding ways to meet a need. There's a lot of videos nowadays where you see people doing good things to people on social media. um there's a video I saw, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I don't really go out looking for these videos, but this video came up on my feed on Threads. And it's a gentleman who, I think he had done a little episode before where he had met a homeless man, and he then comes back, meets the homeless man again, and he has raised money for this homeless man, to the point
Mm.
that Kirubai, he got him a house,
Ooh.
he gave him money, he got him job offers. So he was literally like, this homeless man was like, God has come through for me. This is mind blowing. I can't believe it. My life has been transformed. But this man, I think what he does, he has a lot of people who follow him who donate. So when they see clips that he shares, they donate towards that. And so he's able to raise money for individuals or for families, and he's able to transform their lives. So it's finding avenues that you can use as an individual. If you have contacts, what contacts do you have? You know, can those contacts be used to drive positive change? You know, so it's, I think when we get comfortable in our own little silos, in our own little bubble, we forget that there is pain and suffering going on around us. We forget that actually we are part of a society, and our society needs us. Your society needs your skills. I mean, one of the things that I was provoked to do when I went to this event, so aside from signing up to Met Engage, I also, there's an organization called Ascension Trust. And Ascension Trust trains street pastors, and street pastors have saved the NHS and the police. They have saved them like money, in the sense of the street pastors go out and they help people after nights out and things like that. And so, where the police and ambulance staff might have had to intervene, or might have dealt with the repercussions, the consequences of people in this state, the street pastors are stepping in and they're meeting a need. But I also saw something that I am trying to get into now, where it's called school pastors. So they send people of faith into schools to speak to young people.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was like, sign me up right there. I want to do that because I work with young people every so often, and I see some of the things that they're going through, some of the things that they're dealing with, and it would be so good to stand alongside them and speak to them one to one, and just be there for them in whatever capacity.
Mm. I might want to do. You must sign me on too.
Absolutely.
Hope they won't. I hope they won't ask. Do you have children?
No, I don't think so. But it's things like that. Like there's things happening around us, and when you look outside of your own bubble, then you can find these things. When you're concerned about what is going on around you, it, if the burden like stirs you up enough, if it irks you enough, like if it rubs you up enough, you get up and you go and do something about it. You know, I walk around Westminster and there's a homeless problem. Like there's a lot of homeless people. And every time I'm thinking to myself, what do I have in my hands that I can, like, what change can I bring in this scenario? And part of me always thinks, if I have a house that has loads of rooms, I could just bring these people in, wash them up, and give them a bed for the night. And like, what can we do? What can you do? This is why I said at the start: be the change you want to see. So
Mhm.
if there is something within your power, within your hands, that you can use, that you can do, even if it's just joining neighborhood watch, if that's something, like so be it. But we cannot complain about issues in society if we are not ready to be the solution. And I think, speaking to people of faith who are out there listening to this, like, if you're a person of faith, your faith should provoke you to go beyond prayer and be the answer to prayer. So, in intercession, one of the things that we say, and sorry, I'm using Christianese here, but in intercession, praying for other people, right? One of the things that we say is that sometimes you become the intercession. So, the thing that you're praying for, you become the answer to it. And God uses you to fill that gap. So, we're not just praying, God send, but we're also saying, God, here I am, send me.
Wow, wow. You've motivated me today to do something. Robert and I have to now work on Robert. Then we will do something together. Yeah, this coming Christmas we will do something like that.
And you know what? Like around Christmas, there's a lot of homeless shelters that look for help.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like night shelters that look for help. Even food banks, like they would love to give people Christmas dinners. like to give people the stuff for Christmas dinners. So like food bank donations are such a good idea. When you go shopping, I think nowadays a lot of supermarkets have like a food bank
Collection, yeah.
collection, so you can literally just buy something extra on your
Yeah.
way out and just put it in there. Something. It doesn't have to be something big. It can start with something small. You can go and help to serve breakfast at a homeless shelter, help to serve
Mm,
dinner at a homeless shelter. you know there's
mm.
there's things, there's ideas, but
So
it
many,
starts
yeah,
from thinking outside of your own,
a
getting
box.
outside of your box,
Yeah,
outside of your bubble.
yeah, yeah. Because the church I come from, they kind of have like 200 Christmas hampers. So it looks like it's, so they just say bring what they have, specific things that you bring. So they put it all together in bags and tie them up with ribbons and with whatever. It's like a gift to families. We do not know. No, I could always go and help with distribution. So yes, Elizabeth.
Do you know what, Kirubai? So I used to go to. I'm going to give a shout out to them. I used to go to KICC, and
Yes.
the base in Prayer City in Chatham, whenever it comes to Christmas, they put together what they call, I think they call it like a Christmas hamper, but it's literally a box. It has a turkey in there. It has
Mm,
everything you need to cook a Christmas dinner. It
dinner.
has, I think it even has like a drink. I think it even has like a box of chocolates, like if I remember correctly. And they do, like you just mentioned, like about 200. They probably do roughly that or even more. And it's a whole operation leading up to Christmas, and then they distribute them. Now, when I lived in Bristol, one of the things that would happen as well is the KICC branches outside of London can also come and collect some to give in their
Mm-hmm.
communities. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember, I remember driving up to Chatham from Bristol with a hired van to collect Christmas hamper boxes, and went back to church in Bristol. And we sat down with the pastor, and the pastor had a list of where he wanted us to deliver them. And so I literally went around distributing these Christmas hampers. And you don't know the difference it makes to people because you don't know what they have or don't have. But
Yeah.
it's the little things like that. And I know, like in Chatham, one of the things they do is they even go out to I think it's like a nursing home, and they do stuff there. One of the things we did in another church we were part of is our community group went to an old people's home, and we took some hampers. This wasn't Christmas hampers, but we just put some things that we thought people might like, and we put them in a hamper. And then we went and we sang Christmas carols, and we brought some Christmas cheer. So it's little things like that that people
You
can
know what?
do.
Yeah,
Getting
you
people.
make a difference to people. You know, I think I think before we finish this conversation, I wanted to tell you about a incident that happened on Saturday after leaving a glow. I went to King's Cross, and I went to the information center, and there were two guys. I think they are staff at the station, and they were singing "Ho Holy Night," and they were just humming and singing. And there I went and added the words to it, and we three of us were singing center of center of King's Cross, and then we were chatting, and he said, "Oh, you know the song?" And I said, I gave a little bit of a background to that song, and I said, I need to go to Peterborough. Can you direct me to the platform? And then he said, yeah, you just go to the number 8 platform and wait. So I went coolly and waited there. And then 15 minutes later, I see this guy running towards me, and he said, "Come, come, 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 come." And I said, "Is that I still have another 15 minutes to wait for the train." No, 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 no. You just come and you can wait in the carriage. So I said, "Oh, okay." And then he directs me to the first class. I said, "Mm." I didn't buy my first class ticket. He said, no, no, no. I just bumped you up to the first class. I've already told the ticketing guy. So there is a menu here. Enjoy whatever drinks, food, whatever, and enjoy the ride. I said, what? That was somebody showing me kindness. I gave him a big hug. But you know what? It was just because I sang carols with him. It made his day, and he made my day too.
I love that. I love that. And you know what? It's those acts of kindness that go a long way. You know, he didn't have to, but he did. And
Too.
you know, it's and for him it was also let me do a kind act because she's sprinkled kindness. She sprinkled kindness, so let me go and sprinkle kindness. You know, and this is really looking outside of yourself, looking outside of yourself, and just being able to engage with other people. Being able to, we don't have to all be doom and gloom when we're walking around. You know, when you're in a lift and it's this awkward silence and everyone's like we don't have to do life like that. We can do life in community. We can do life like being concerned and engaging with others and making a difference in the lives of other people. This has been good, Kirubai. I liked it. I enjoyed today's conversation. I know we drifted away
Yes,
from what
it's
we
okay. But you
initially
know what?
said.
I think it's very timely that we spoke. At least whoever listening today and who will go back to this conversation, even I was so inspired, Elizabeth. My brains are ticking. I got to do something. I got to do something in the community, and that's. I'm always trying to look. Yes, we have a CIC, which is community based, which we are plan. We are planning to do something in Sutton. But you know what? What am I? What is my contribution to where I live? So thank you for giving all those words of wisdom to help me also think out of the box.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And to think that this conversation was sparked from the incident that happened on the train on Saturday. Like that was what sparked or drove this conversation where it went. And I think it's a much needed conversation. And like you say, the timing is also it's a good timing because we're in that time of Christmas cheer. So people in the mood to do good things, right? So maybe we've given some people ideas of things that they can go out and do. And even just sitting here, I thought about a community that me and you are part of, a glow. We could go out in Paddington, find maybe a nursing home and sing some carols to the people in that community because we're in Paddington, right? A glow is we're a Paddington branch. We could find somewhere around Paddington where we could go and spread some Christmas cheer, and it might not be that we do it this year, but maybe it's an idea that we can bring for next year.
That's
But
right.
it's being able to think beyond ourselves, the things that we are going through, and to look at what is going on in our community, to be concerned about our neighbors. Mental health for me, like, is a conversation that I like to not run away from, if that makes sense. And I think I said this to you before, Kirubai. 2 years ago, my next door neighbor, took
Yes.
her own life.
Yes.
Um, and so this mental health conversation is one that needs to happen, but also just supporting people in the community, helping them to know that they're not alone. They're not alone. They are not alone. And whatever you can do to help someone know they're not alone, it can make such a difference. I mean, I'll share this and we will close. I During our session at a glow, we all had we four of us had an opportunity to give a talk, and one of the I talked about like the new season that God is bringing us into and how we should forget the past. And at the end of it, one of the ladies came to me and she said how she had been going through such a rough time,
Mm.
and that word really spoke to her. But it also made me think, I'm in this community. This lady is going through such a rough time. I hope she has people around her that she can reach out to, or that she has reached out to, so she's not having to carry the weight of the pain by herself. So helping people to know that they're not alone can make a difference, can go a long way. And you can do that by reaching out to people, calling, sending a message, giving a smile when you're walking out and about. Just a smile can make a difference. You find somebody humming, you join in. I was humming in a cafe one day, and the lady sat next to me. She heard it, and we started a conversation. And like 2 3 hours later, we're still deep in conversation, and I'm encouraging her with her faith, and we're having a rich conversation, but it started from the humming. So just what can we do? What can you do to bring change to your community? Is something that we all need to think about and we all need to consider. Do you have anything else to add, Kirubai?
No, no, thank you. It's it's been a very good conversation, I must say.
I love it. And the internet did not cut us off. It did not kick us out. So hey.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I checked in Facebook and it was fine, and Tunji was able to join in and hear us. So hopefully those watching on other platforms are also able to engage. And if you do watch this on the replay, please let us know if there is something you're doing in your community. Maybe someone will get an idea from what you're doing, and they will go and they will bring change in their community. But thank you so much for joining us this evening, and we will be back again next week. And maybe next week I'll even give you some feedback about the event I'm going for, organized by Lambeth Council, right? To let you know what the community is doing there. So we're taking action. We're not just people who talk, but we are people who like to take action on the things that we're talking about. So thank you once again for joining us, and yeah, God bless you.
Bless you and good night.